Hey, Obi Chukwumah here with Space and Equity, where we're all about increasing assets and creating new space. Real bankers for real people. I'm here today with my ace, my number one best friend from back in the day. You know, friends always do a good job in building us up. And no way to start a relationship by letting somebody smoke you on a track and field in 1998. Now you on camera, Ricky P. Hey. You're on camera from 1998. Tell them about the state track meet. Where were we? Was that in Columbus?
No, it was in Columbus. That might have been the last track meet in Columbus.
That was the last track meet in Columbus?
Yes.
Okay. So we at the Buckeye.
At the big house, at the horseshoe.
At the horseshoe.
When they still had the track
at
inside.
The horseshoe.
Yes.
And explain to the people so they understand, in the 4x100 meter relay, it was a 400, everybody runs a 100 meter, but everybody don't run the 100 meter. We were the second leg. So what's unique about that second leg?
That is what, you know, if you run track or if coach track, what we call the freak leg. Like, actually, that is the fastest leg on your track team.
You have to be the most dependent runner.
Yes,
the strongest runner.
You run the longest. You know, you probably run maybe 110 meters. You know, the anchor, they just bring it on home. But that second leg, that's the one where everybody's like, ooh.
I got to keep it real though. My anchor was real.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I don't want to get Angelo reaching out to me. He on the gram all the time. I don't want him reaching out to me. That dude was real. In fact, I'm gonna take you back even a little bit further. So earlier that year, so we were juniors at the time. Angelo transferred to our school.
Where'd he go to school?
I don't know where Angelo went to school, but he just came and showed up on our campus as a senior, right? So I set the standard my sophomore year. People was talking, my coach talked trash to me because I didn't want to run the 400, but then he talked trash, so I had to show him what was real. And ended up winning the 400 open at the city level, the OCCs. Remember Derek Combs? He was a running back for Ohio State.
Yeah.
The greatest compliment I've received in my athletic life is the Mr. Football of Ohio in 1997 said to me, "My dude, you real." Because I ran the open 4, the 2, and then I was an anchor on our 4x4, and it was almost like back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
I won the 4 with like a 50 flat, and then he smoked me. He smoked me in the 2, but I was still tired. I ran like a 22. I still remember the times. I ran like a 22.8. He ran 21.5 or something.
The 4.2 wasn't easy to do, especially in Ohio.
It was like boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And then had to anchor the 4x4, and we made it on the regionals.
That's a full day.
So Derek was like, "My dude, you real." I was like, "Man, that was Mr. Ohio."
Yeah.
He juked me on the football field. He don't remember that. All good. But so take it back. The junior year, I decided not to play basketball, just football and track. That was the first year I didn't play basketball. So track was it. That was still my focus. So even though football was real, track was it. So we come in, and I think I'm the fastest dude on the team, right?
He'd been there since the beginning of the year. Did he play football with y'all?
He didn't play football.
Okay.
So he'd been there I didn't know who he was, and I don't know how because.
So he was just a straight track guy.
He was a straight track guy. We had like 12 black people, so I don't know how I didn't know who Angelo was.
That's amazing that y'all football, because I know Kilbourne with football is like
stupid.
Yeah.
We should have reached out. Maybe Angelo didn't even want to play football. I can't remember. And I'm using his name as if he gave us permission and whatnot, but hopefully he's cool with that. So. In the wintertime, we did a lot of training upstairs in Kilbourne was a big school, but we had this big rotunda upstairs, and we would just do laps up there. And I'm a gunner, and I'm like, this is my team. You saw what I did sophomore year. So Angelo, he just talks all this shit, but he's a funny dude. And now if you follow him on Instagram, you know what I'm talking about. He just has a great sense of humor. But he's talking all this shit about how fast he was and he do this and do that, but in practice he wasn't doing nothing. He wasn't going hard.
He's a gamer.
He was a gamer. So I was like, man, dude, you shut up and let me run my team. So I think I'm the fastest dude on the team. The dual meet, right? I said, you know what, Coach, like because of the 400 being so close to the 200, I really didn't get to show what I could do in 200. I was trying to transition my coach to that. We got a dog barking out there, and the sound team is like, damn, bro. So trying to transition my coach to convince him that let me lead with the 2 and we'll throw in the 4.
Uh-huh.
So dual meet. I'm going to show these cats. 1, 2, 3. First place, Angelo. Second place, Darren Hicks. Third place, Obi Chukwumah. I ain't running a 2 this year. We all broke the school record.
Okay.
I got third. And I knew then, I was like, I'm going to have to focus on the 4. And you know, the 4 and the 4x1 are right there. So Angelo talked all this trash, and he backed that thing up.
Yeah.
The first time he ran a meet at Worthington Kilbourne High School, he breaks the school record, breaks a 22 in a dual meet, and it's still in Ohio in March. You're still cold. Yeah. So we are, and it's still cold. So I was like, okay, dude's real. So I say all that. That was a long way to say that even though I was a second leg, and that's the most important leg, our anchor leg was real.
I mean, you gotta have your anchor leg. Got to be able to go get people. And I will say, while I might have won the battle, y'all won the war because he did come. He came and got some people. I remember that.
And, you know, and I have to say, when I handed off the baton, I don't know what Darren did, but when we handed it off to Angelo at the final leg, I think we were in 5th, and he went from 5th to 2nd place. And we got second.
So had y'all been every meet? Had y'all been kind of winning every meet, or was it?
So this is because I was running the 4 that year. I thought,
okay.
So my sophomore year, I was 6th at regionals in the 4, and so I was like, you got to go. The top 4 go to state. So that was going to be my year, and I just couldn't get right. Like, the times I ran as a sophomore were not as good as the times I ran as a junior. Looking back on it now, I gained 30 pounds. You know, you have them growth spurts, and like, oh yeah, I had to carry 30 more pounds. No wonder it was tough. But I just couldn't really get my time right. But I was focused on the 4, and finally my coach was trying to temper my ego. Was like, okay, I don't want to upset him too. He had in his mind the whole time, eventually
we're gonna run the hot relay.
We're gonna run the hot relay, and that means Obi probably you ain't gonna be able to recover from running the 4x1, and literally the next event is a 4. So
there's only one man that I know could do that.
Who did that?
And Chris Chambers.
Okay, Chris was
he's bad man. He won the quarter that year.
Run the 4x1 and then come back and run the quarter. That's real.
He a bad man, dog. Like, yeah, he's the only dude I knew do that. Now he didn't do that year going to state, but yeah. So like, with that being said, like, we never running through the year saw each other. Like Northern Ohio, Southern Ohio, Central Ohio, we never saw each other. So the only time you saw people was at the state meet.
Yeah,
and from our side, you know, I always tell my wife, I said, if you'd have known me in high school, you might not have liked me because we was kind of arrogant on the track. You know, it was very, like, even you said when we was walking around, I'm shaking everybody's hand like, hey, how you doing?
I know. I was like, why this dude shaking my hand? We about to go. I'm trying to kill you. Like, no, you running, but I'm trying to make sure that you know that you can't mess with us.
And I'm just like, hey, you know, hey, good race, man. Good race. You know, telling everybody, being kind of, you know, that's just how we were. Like, we would walk into the bullpen and be like, they'd be giving out lane assignments, and they'd be like, lane 4 would be like, we know Bedford. You know, that's just how we were.
Yeah.
But I remember going to that, you know, running that race, you know, and then watching y'all anchor just catch everybody. I'm like, dang, like, he walked everybody down. And I remember getting home or getting that picture, and I just remember because the picture always sat in our living room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this team with the K on their chest, you know, and I always saw you there, you know, didn't know who you was, but it was like, so when fast forward, going to
Wake Forest for
on a
college visit.
Yeah. Like, it's some things that happen in life that is just God. And I think this was one of them. Cause like, you were coming down the tunnel, your side, I was coming down my side, and we just met right at the exact same time. And it was just like, hey,
where I know you from.
Yeah. And then from there, it was just.
So back it up. Our junior year, we meet each other on the track, end of our junior year in the spring. He's in Cleveland. I'm in Columbus. That's about a 2.5 hour drive, 71. And then we both were recruited by Wake Forest University, which is in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Yep.
So the only thing I knew about Wake Forest prior to getting recruited is Tim Duncan. Played basketball at Wake Forest.
That was the same. Yep.
That's all thing. I knew. I knew about the ACC because of North Carolina. In fact, I wanted to go run. I don't know why I picked North Carolina, but I wanted to run
track.
In 7th grade, I wrote a letter to myself that I was going to run track and field at North Carolina. Not that they had anything to do with track and field that I knew of.
Yeah.
I just knew I loved track and field, and I was going to go to Chapel Hill. That was my calculus somehow.
Dang, like what? I didn't know you. So what? Why didn't you run and weight?
Man, so I remember talking briefly to Coach Caldwell about it during the recruiting process. Oh yeah, we got a lot of guys that run track.
Yeah.
And then we get there, and then John Stone is like the fastest guy in the ACC running a 10.3. I was like, I can't run a 10.3. And I just never thought about just doing it anyways.
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest regrets is that finding out where I could have taken it. You know, in college, you're more in your physical form. By then, I knew how to carry more weight. You know, going from 140 to 170 in 1 year, that was a lot. But by college, you know, I'm 200 pounds now, but I know how to carry that. And I just never did it. And that's my biggest regret, because it wasn't as if we were discouraged from doing it, but they did say, like, hey, I don't need y'all missing spring practice unless you're going to win the ACC.
And thinking about the dudes who did run track, like they did win the ACC the year before we got there. And Stone, like that cat, just super fast. Like, but I think we definitely could have ran the relay. You know, football. You know, that was one of my, you know, just not doing that in college, just to see, because I had so much success in high school doing it, like not trying it in college. That's one of my regrets too. But
just going out there, man. So tell the people about. So if you haven't figured it out, we're really good friends. We've known each other for over 20 years now. We both played college football at Wake Forest. We both met our wives at Wake Forest. We're both now here in Dallas, Texas. You know, all the moves brought us here. And tell us, if we're going back and giving people a memory lane trip, tell them about the recruiting process and why you picked Wake Forest University.
Well, you know, probably just like you, I think probably had every single MAC offer coming out of high school, you know, MAC conference. I tell people all the time, it was basically boiling down to playing for Coach Caldwell. Okay. Like, I didn't feel like where other opportunity would I have to play for a black head coach? And just because I knew eventually that's what I wanted to do, was be in coach. I remember sitting in there with Caldwell during my recruiting visits. You know, he's in the chair, we're talking. He's like, well, what do you see yourself doing after school? I said, sitting where you are. You know, I envisioned myself being a head coach one day. Yeah. You know, just learning under him. His son played there. So you had that sense of nothing's going to happen to me that he wouldn't do to his own son type of thing. Yeah. You know, shout out Jim Caldwell, Jimmy, as we call him, Bosco. But, yeah, like just playing for a black head coach, because there wasn't many Caldwell, Tyrone Willingham.
At the time, that was it. I mean, you had some D coordinators, but at the D1 level, I can't remember.
I'm really trying to think, especially around that time.
Stanford, Ty Willingham, Coach Caldwell, Wake Forest. He was definitely the only one in the ACC. I don't know, because Charlie Strong was later. Because at the time, he was at Florida.
You know, you got Herm Edwards now, but I mean, maybe who was the guy was at
there's a guy at Miami, Ohio, but that was after we were already there.
Yeah, so it was just that opportunity to play for a black head coach. And I remember going on that trip, you know, meeting you, knowing you already, and then just getting down there, being with everybody. It just felt right. Yeah. And I took the trip by myself. So there was no outside influence with my parents. There was no, you know, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? No, this was my decision. Now, even with that, I remember when Caldwell came to my living room and he said he was going down to see you next. I think you either pre-committed or committed. When did you commit?
Man, I think I committed right after he came to my house. Okay. Or no, I committed earlier. So I committed with Coach Lemon, who was the Ohio recruiting coordinator. We had an Ohio pipeline down in North Carolina. At some point, I committed with him over the phone. My head coach came to the house like, what's this shit all about? Why are you committing all early? I don't know. You know, I can't come to find out, I believe there was an incentive.
I remember you telling me this.
For Ohio athletes, if they went to Ohio school, that coaching program, the school that they came from, would be incentivized. It wasn't like they were putting money in the coach's pocket, but really in the program to keep
I remember you telling me that. Yeah. I just remember Caldwell saying to me, we're visiting you. We're going to see Obi next, who's already committed. Then after that, we're going down to Georgia to visit. I can't remember the kid's name, but I remember he
went to Georgia Tech.
He went to Georgia Tech, yeah. And whoever takes that spot first gets it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man. So then he leaves. I called him at the hotel, was like, yeah, I'm coming. You know, and then that wound up sealing it up right there. But my parents went on a visit after that because I was like, you know, I know I was wrong. I go, you sure? You sure? I was like, yeah, are you cool with that? And they're like, it's your decision. And then they said, well, look, we'll bring you down, just the parents. So they went through the official visit. When they went down there, Jamal was there, Dion, and I think T was there. No, T was on our visit.
T was on our visit?
I think so. I know Rebar was because he was my roommate at the time. But yeah, so they went after, you know, and then that's when it got okayed. And
yeah, because I didn't do any of my official visits except Wake. I had a visit scheduled to West Virginia. I did a unofficial to Purdue, met Drew Brees. I'm sure he doesn't remember me, but it was after a game that they lost, and he was like, I don't even want to meet with you. Like, get the fuck out of my face. Yeah. So we ended up, I had Purdue. I told him, no, I'm going to Wake. Same thing, West Virginia. I was still talking to Miami, Ohio, because it was a hard thing because they were the first people who offered me. But I knew I wasn't going to go there. I don't know why I kept on playing with them on the phone. And then Indiana had some interest. But as soon as I came down, to me, it was a black coach. Like Coach Caldwell, just the way he carried himself, I mean, it was brilliant on the field. Anybody who doesn't understand, I really get offended when people talk about, I mean, Peyton Manning is great. But a lot of the changes, the little tweaks, Coach Caldwell had a lot to do with that. So you think about after he leaves Wake, unfortunately was fired. We lost too many games, 2-9. So Coach,
I mean, we was young though, man.
Yeah.
We had 20 redshirt freshmen playing or something like that. It was crazy. Like
it just wasn't gonna happen. It's like Florida State this year. It ain't gonna happen. So Coach Caldwell leaves. He goes with Tony Dungy to the Bucks.
Yeah.
And then they go to the Colts, and he's a quarterback coach and assistant head coach there. Has a lot of success. They win the Super Bowl. Dungy retires. Coach Caldwell is coach in waiting, becomes a head coach. They lose to Drew Brees and the Saints. And then I think they had one more playoff year, and then Peyton had the neck issue.
Yeah.
And so it was a tough year. They fire Coach Caldwell. He goes to Baltimore. The best years of Flacco's life as a player is with Coach Caldwell.
Same thing with
and the transition
Stafford.
Same thing with Stafford when in Detroit. Peyton is Peyton Manning, and so nobody's going to deny that. But even Peyton would give homage to the stuff Coach Caldwell did. And
I'll talk. Remember McPherson?
Yes.
So he was a free agent with them.
Okay.
In the room. And I remember having a conversation with him, and he said that it just in the quarterback room. I said, well, how's it been there being in the quarterback room? He's like, well, first of all, we're all sitting in the back. It's Jim.
Because now he's calling him Jim.
And he said, and that's the weirdest thing, like, you know, because now we're.
So to give y'all background, McPherson was our quarterback at Wake Forest University. Yeah. He's a free agent with the Colts, and he goes from calling him Coach Caldwell to Jim because now we're grown-ups now.
So he would say that it'd be Coach Caldwell and Peyton basically sitting in the front of the room watching film, and they're just basically like, what do you think here? Well, and Peyton, then Coach Caldwell said, well, sometimes you could check to this. They just basically be talking back and forth, throwing ideas off of each other. And he said, and there's nothing we could really say because it's like, I'm going to just sit back here and listen because that's Peyton, and watch what they're doing. Yeah. And then they go out on the field and do what they do. But yeah, that's the, you know, everybody's gonna,
everybody. Coach
to hear say Peyton Manning didn't need a coach. You know, like, you know.
Long story short, we lost a lot of games at Wake Forest, but we never had any trouble on offense. Coach Caldwell is an offensive genius. Every place he's gone, he's made the quarterbacks better. That's his secret sauce. I believe when he got the job with Detroit, the changing point was he was like, yeah, I've watched every film on Matthew Stafford over a certain period of time, and this is what we can do to tweak his game. And I mean, so that got him the job.
And and just to speak to the man he is, like, I remember people talking about him when he got let go at the Lions, and they were like, he cared about us as people. And that's how he treated us at Wake. Like, there were some rules that he had that we didn't quite understand at the time, but now being in the world, being fathers, being, you know, it's like, oh, okay. Like, he was putting us up on game way back then, and not even, you know, we didn't even realize it.
Coach Caldwell was the first person I talked about real estate, man.
Yeah.
So this is like, while he was at Wake, you know, he was building a real estate portfolio. I remember I had a horrible pro day. He actually sent a scout out to see me, and it was embarrassing what I did. But anyways, he still loved us. So I reached out to him about, hey, look, a year after finishing school, I was starting to get into real estate, and I was like, Coach, I'm going to be a millionaire by 30. I thought it was going to be through the NFL, but it was going to be through real estate. And he just smiled like, yeah, it's young blood. That's really stupid, but I still love you, and best of luck.
Yeah.
You know, but he never, it wasn't a disposition for him to have us reach out. I remember emailing him when I was leaving teaching and going back to the bank, because there was a funky situation with a coaching job that I thought was offered and not offered. And he gave me some encouragement. When I read the email, I realized this brother just probably finished practice with the Colts, and he's emailing me back. And I don't even know why I emailed him, thinking about the schedule he had. But that's the kind of man he was. He actually genuinely cared about his players.
Yep. I mean, and to think about, I remember Will Merritt being in business school, and Caldwell, like, he's a senior, go to class. Yeah. Do what you need to do. And just Will's now, he's still killing it.
So what you're saying is that a lot of times you don't realize you are a commodity. When we had the next coaching staff, not to disparage them, but you realize their job is dependent on how well you play.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stress and anxiety associated with that. And if you don't care about the players, it's easy to be like, you're just a piece of meat to me that needs to make sure you do your job to the best of your ability so I can feed my family.
Yeah, I mean, being in that, I've sat on the other side of that table and been in coaching meetings where it's like, we're going to have a drug test. And it's like, oh, okay, well, who am I going to choose so that, you know, nobody gets kicked off the team? And it's like, no, we want people to leave. Yeah. Yeah. Like, we need scholarships back.
Yeah. I mean,
and I'm like, okay, that's not why I got into the you know, this coaching thing. Like, you know, and it's.
I mean, we have a teammate that was in the NFL. He's a good business person now. I'm not going to name his name because he didn't give me permission to share this. But he was informed that when we had the new coaching regime, their agenda was to get rid of him because of his hair. He ended up having a great summer camp, was a starting linebacker, outside linebacker that year, and they decided to keep him. But the way they played it was they told him 2 days before the kickoff, I think we were playing App State, or whoever we opened up with that year. Actually, that was ECU. They told him 2 days before the ECU game they had to cut his hair or be off the team.
Yeah, see, that's wild.
They had made a decision about this young man simply on the way he wore his hair and not who he was.
Yeah.
And so that was the difference between Coach Caldwell and everybody else.
Yeah. And that's the what I call the business of big time athletics, man. I mean, and I think a lot of youngsters now don't realize once they get into college, like, it's business. And the higher you go up in the Alabamas and the big schools in the world, you know, it's big business.
Absolutely.
You know, so I mean, and I remember a coach asked me one time, I said, yeah, I'm going to get into coaching. It was like, you sure you want to do, you want your livelihood to depend on 17, 18, 19-year-olds? Like, you sure you want to? And I, you know, at the time, didn't think about that. But yeah, it's business.
It's business.
Yeah.
Speaking of business, so you see my wall.
Uh-huh.
You know, our freshman year when we still had CDs, you stole my Reasonable Doubt CD. What? Because we were in the same dorm.
This is breaking news right now.
Yeah.
We've never had this conversation.
You didn't steal it on purpose. You just thought it was yours, and that shit was mine. So we were using your 6-disc changer, and at the end of the year, we both. So I'm a big Jay-Z fan.
Huge.
Like, huge Jay-Z. Like I'll fight you.
We could have a conversation.
If you try to say,
I could get Obi real. Nas is better than Jay-Z.
You're a fool, but that's okay. I respect that. In Cleveland, the air is thinner, And y'all's brains don't get a chance to fully develop before 25. And so I can let you say that nonsense. But even though he thinks Nas is better, he was a big J fan too. So this is 1999, Reasonable Doubt, Volume 1, and The Dynasty.
So what you tell me is I got 2 Reasonable Doubt CDs
somewhere. Yes, you were just convinced that was yours, and it wasn't. Now, I will say,
you might have fought me over that if I pushed harder, or you would have told me.
It wasn't even worth the fight because you were so convinced. So my best friend is an only child, and that was the first time in life that he had to have a brotherhood, share things.
Yeah.
It was really contentious at times about don't touch me. He's just used to having everything be his.
Yeah,
right?
or you leaving to take your girlfriend home and you got my sweater on that I just washed and you took out of my mouth. I'm like, dog, I just washed
That's
that.
what brothers do. But you didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know
and
that.
I just had to break that into you. But anyways, Reasonable Doubt.
Okay.
Volume 1, Dynasty, while we're at school. So the thing about going to college is that you don't think about is how scary that ish is. We lived in Cleveland, Ohio for you, Columbus, Ohio for me. We drive 7 hours south to live in a state we've never been in.
Yeah.
And around a bunch of new people. I remember your mom saying to you, so Rick went to it was an all-black school because that's just the way Cleveland is set up. Not because it was all-black school, but
I'm gonna say 70-30.
70-30. I had 435 people in my graduating class, and 20 of us were black.
Yeah.
And I think that's a stretch. So even Wake Forest, which is a campus that's probably about 10% black.
Yeah.
That was the most black people I'd ever been around, and besides Nigeria, living in Nigeria.
See, and to hear you say that, I always felt you were a lot more comfortable than me, because like you just said, the dynamic, going to Wake, I have been around 70% black folk, and then I'm get there and I'm the only black kid in class, and that and I remember saying that to you, and you were just like, yeah, welcome. That was me.
That's how we lived.
Yeah.
And so for me, I felt like an outsider on the football team. Because of that dynamic, most of my teammates came from situations where it was a majority black, and that's my first real interaction with a lot of black folks besides Nigerians. It was the music that was the connector.
Yeah,
it was I was awkward. I had a bald head. I was a good enough student where I could have gone to Wake independent of football, and a lot of our teammates, that wasn't the story, right? So I was awkward because of that. I was awkward because of sort of the experience going to a white school, but that was a connector.
Yeah.
Because we could rap all day. Back, I don't know how kids do it now as far as music is concerned, but back then, if you were a hip hop fan, you had to be a scholar and you had to understand the genre.
Yeah.
It's different now. And so we were passionate about it. I remember arguing with Ira's wife now, Lamea, about Volume 1 being a better album than The Reasonable Doubt, even though I was just doing it to be a contrarian. But I had enough points to make the argument.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see how you could make the argument.
Yeah.
But it's that Reasonable Doubt, man,
it's still a classic.
Yeah.
It's still a classic.
I mean, but when you get into music and think about that, most of the artist's first one is think about Kanye. I was listening to College Dropout the other day, and it took me back to when we was at Wake. Yeah. That was toward the end of our Wake career, but like you saying that I remember listening to the Jay-Z, Outkast, all that stuff. That was our connector. Yeah, definitely.
and even with teammates from different regions of the world, they put us on.
Pastor Troy. I ain't never heard of Pastor Troy.
Pastor Troy. I mean, Kellen put us on Trick.
Trick that, yeah.
You knew about Trick, but not back then. Music was very regional. It was so regional to the point where I bought Volume 1 before I bought Reasonable Doubt because the media play in Columbus, Ohio didn't even carry Reasonable Doubt.
Yeah.
Until Volume 2 hit. And I apologize. When I gave that order, I was incorrect. And I apologize. It is Reasonable Doubt, Volume 1, Volume 2, Dynasty. I skipped Volume 2, which that was the album that probably put Jay on the map.
Yeah.
And
think about music and look at music as like what's the catalog of your life, and when you think about just Rockefeller in the general, like that whole what you just named, that was our our catalog.
Like and it was
you could throw some Lil Weezy with the Hot Boys and all that in there, but like what we vibed on to listen to was Jay, and it was just like I remember when it came out, we would listen to it together, like all of that.
And it was so calendar-ish. Like if you think about Jay's in our 10th grade, Reasonable Doubt, 11th grade, Volume 1. Senior year in high school, Volume 2, freshman year in college, Dynasty. Then you had the Blueprint.
The Blueprint,
and that was right around 9/11. So then that's a big thing. And then Blueprint 2, which was but still, it's still Jay. And then you had the Black Album. So like it kind of just from our sophomore year through college, every year he's putting out an album.
And I think that why he's one of my favorite artists now is just that as he's grown, I've grown, he's grown musically. Like you listen to 444 now, and it's like, you know, he's transitioning kind of on stuff that we're on. You know, talking to you about building wealth. Where we at right now, trying to build wealth. You know, it's just, you know, so if he's grown with us, and I think that's a lot of connection that other artists might lose because they're trying to play a young man's game and still be with the young crowd. You know, now everybody don't have as much clout as Jay does to move and do that and be able to be all right when it's like, I'm gonna do what I want to do, you know. But yeah, definitely as he's grown, we've grown, and that's what keeps it still a connection here.
So I got a 15-year-old daughter. You got a 13-year-old daughter. How is that? Like, it's so weird sitting with Zena, and she's listening to some of the music I'm listening to. She's asked me, or she's developing her own relationship with music from our generation. But then she's got the stuff that she likes, and I'm like, Doja Cat, what is that?
Yeah, like, it's mind. You have to open your mind to it because, like, I find myself now kind of listening to her, Doja Cat, SZA, even some of Ariana Grande stuff. You know, like because that's who she's into. Giveon, she's introduced me to him. Like, so there's certain people that she listens to that I kind of vibe on, but it's cool to hear her, like you said, like she'll listen to some Lauryn Hill and I didn't even expose her to that. And
they have their own experience with it and bring it back to you. You can have these conversations about something you both enjoy. There's something special about that.
I think I told you she was like, oh, Lauryn Hill's the best female rapper ever. And I was like,
you know what
I'm talking about. You know,
that is good analysis.
Yeah, so I was like, okay. And I said, if there was one, and I played her some MC Light, you know, just kind of. She's like, she's okay, but Lauren's better. I'm like, all right.
You hear the Lauren's track on King's Disease?
Yes.
That Nobody.
Yeah.
She was spitting bars.
And like, she's. I call her like the Nina Simone. She's our Nina Simone. Like, just everybody hungers to hear her. And when she comes, everybody's like, oh my God, you know, Lauryn Hill. But when she's aloof or off, you know, just like Nina Simone was, just, you know, she's that to us.
And I don't even want to say she's the best female she is just a dope lyricist, man.
And you could put her in that category.
She's just in that category. And then you think about in 1999, Lauryn Hill dropped Miseducation, Jay dropped Volume 2, The Roots dropped Things Fall Apart. There was a DMX.
Dog. You talk about that now.
Y'all don't, and I'm talking to the sound team back there. Y'all don't even have music. This brother here, Brock, didn't even know I had Old Dirty on my shirt. He was like, I don't even know who Old Dirty Bastard is. I was like, oh, damn.
You got some homework. Go to Hulu and watch the Wu Chronicles.
Yes, sir.
That's what y'all need to watch the Wu Chronicles. You got all right. Watch the Wu Chronicles. But yeah, like. So if Jay was the soundtrack of my college career, DMX was the soundtrack of my high school. Like listening to Get At Me Dog in the shower with the lights off with the hit, like, you know, like the
X was nice too,
and that's
man.
The thing. Like, I feel like he passed away, people reminisce, but it's like y'all don't know X like just, we knew X. Like that was just, you know, what's the show you? Shit is real. Like, man, like, no, really, it's real.
Yeah, man.
Like, yeah, and then when they did the Hard Knock Life documentary, and you saw him and Jay rapping.
Yes, there was a time period. If you think about it, X was maybe hotter than Jay, or on the same clip, and it was dope. Like he could go bar for bar. Now he's not as nuanced as Jay, but X had just bars for days. Back then you couldn't even be like, we would probably say Ja Rule's but Ja Rule had bars.
Yeah.
You just had to be nice.
I'll say this: there's no valleys in Jay's career. Mm-hmm. He had that steady just peaks.
Yeah.
Like there might have been somebody who peaked with him, but they eventually went down.
Because even if you think about Kingdom Come, which is an album he doesn't really like, that album has, like, I can play that through and be fine.
Yeah.
And then you get American Gangster's just ridiculous.
I mean, his unplugged joint.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
So when you say, I will say this, I'm not going to be a fool and not act like King's Disease 2 is 5 mics. That album is dope.
So here's my thing with Jay. And I equate today, J. Cole is Nas. If Nas had social media, he would be just like J. Cole. Mm-hmm. He'd be out there. He have his cult following. Yeah. You know, he could do the underground just tour, make his money. You know, he don't have to do the Grammys. He don't have to do features. Like, he don't have to do that. Like, that's J. Cole now. Yeah. If Nas was like, because people always say Nas is your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, he was just straight. I don't think he ever transitioned to being able to walk that corporate and
he
never found his space equity.
He did, in real life he found his space equity because that dude is a businessman. But I see what you're saying. Yeah. He didn't know how to transition when corporate took over hip hop. He didn't know how to make his music still hot.
He didn't have a Dame Dash.
Yeah.
Like, Dame really helped Jay mentally, business wise. Like, as much as the a-hole people think Dame is, he be dropping some jewels. You might not like how he delivered it to you, but, and Nas didn't have that. He was just strictly, I'm going to do the music, and I'm going to do it damn well. Yeah. Now, it was a couple, Shorty. I don't know about that, but
But even Q-Tip did some tracks like that. So
it was the time. It was the
times. I remember Jay on Volume 1 even put a track out that was very Diddy like. It was like, that shit.
Yeah, shiny suit. And that was Diddy. Diddy did it. Diddy did it.
Look. Nobody. Yeah. Diddy's a musical genius too, and all he put together. I'm just saying, as far as he ain't shiny suit.
That's not their creed. That's not, Yeah. But like, if that's, and then if you listen to just Nas's bars, it's like, man, he just, and Jay, sometimes I love him, but I listen to some tracks and I'm just like, and it's a lot on his features.
On his features, I think Jay's formula on his features is just like, y'all know who I am. Let me remind you again. And I know people don't. He's like, I'm from the hood. What type? You stupid. What type of facts are those? Yeah. I understand, but I feel like there's times where he puts effort on his features, and there's time where he's just like, I'm
gonna drop this.
Like, if you think about the 13th feature he did on Kendrick's second album, what was the feature on Kendrick's?
I can't remember, but
it's gonna drive me crazy. Talking about This was, what was that bar about, $1 Million Baby? But anyways, he came with it because Kendrick came with it. Like, there's times where he's like, okay, I can't play around. Yeah. And then Jay Electronica's, he featured through the whole album basically, but he boom. If you make him come to work, he's gonna come to work on it.
That was the. Yeah, I can rap like Common Sense, but I make $5 million.
I'm rapping like Common Sense.
So it's like, but on the Jay Electronica, he got a chance to do that, and I'm gonna show you like that, right? Yeah. And that's one of those, people kind of, if you ain't a real Jay fan, or most of the time people don't know who Jay Electronica is, so they're not gonna pick that up to listen to it. I try to put Trey on it, and Trey just kind of looked at me like,
"What you talking about?"
Yeah, Trey? Like Trey, he likes my son. 10. He likes, Travis Scott, little this, little that. I'm like, okay, well, we'll work on you, son. Like, I'm like, you listen to J. Cole? No, I don't listen to J. Cole. I'm like, okay. But yeah, Sydney, it's like she'll have a playlist. Matter of fact, she was playing a song today going to school. It was by Childish Gambino or Donald Glover, and I'm like, yo, who is that? Where? She was like, oh yeah, I'll send it to you, and I'm like, I like that track, and so she'll just every once in a while pop up and show me something. But yeah, it's
this fatherhood thing, especially with girls, that's real. How do you handle being a sports dad, or in your case, your daughter's a dancer?
Well, see, that's the kicker. So I remember when Sydney had her first dance recital, and I think, no, it wasn't her first one, but it was the first one where I had to get her prepared, like Courtney's in trial or something. And I'm standing outside the room because I can't go in because they're dressed, and I'm asking some of the other moms, hey, can you get her dressed? Like, I had never been like with that. It's been sneakers and football helmets and track spikes, but now it's, point shoes and tap shoes, leotards, and so
having to adjust to their sport.
But it's for me, I still look at it the same exact way. Like, she'll go to these dance competitions or these conventions where they like everybody's dancing in a room, and if you're doing well, they pick you out. And I'm like, look, this business, like, you ain't going there to make friends. You going there to show what you got to do. And she's kind of like, okay, Dad. It's like, but that, and I guess in that, I enjoy to see her do hip hop because it's the closest thing to what to what we did. It's real rough, real rugged. But then when she does her lyrical or something like that, now I'm a little more emotional. Like, I was watching her dance one time, I had to leave because I started crying because I'm like, oh my God, like, she's growing up, but it's hard not to bring that,
that energy. I can't. I tried. So in the beginning, my daughter plays volleyball, both club and at the high school level, and I try my best to not be that helicopter dad and not be overbearing. But my natural competitiveness.
I know my brother. Like, and Danielle was like, damn, Rick, Obi. I was like, I know.
So there was, in the beginning, this will be her second full year with the club that she plays with now. The transition was a little challenging. And so I recognized, I was like, we always think our kid is the best, but my daughter's pretty doggone good. But she wasn't comfortable with the set of girls yet. And there was a tournament where she was playing a little timid. My daughter is very cerebral. She's a smarter player than I was in my sport. I'm intellectually smart, but I wasn't always. I was more instinctful in the field, more explosive. Zena has that explosion, and she has the intellect. So in her mind, she might warm up poorly with the spike, and like, okay, I'm not going to really swing. I'm gonna push the ball, I'm gonna pass. And she was doing that to the point where her coach pulled her out, and I was just tired of it. I had OJ, my youngest son, and you know all about OJ. OJ is on the spectrum, y'all. So there's a lot of challenges with just. He's a full-time job. So I'm at the game by myself with OJ and Mar, our middle child, and Zena's playing timid. Her coach benches her, and I just had it. I flipped. I thought I was on the football field again. I get up, and I pulled her aside, which you ain't supposed to do as a parent, but I didn't care. I said, "You better put the fuck up and come out there." And this is in front of like a whole group of everybody, most of them not looking like us, and so they weren't ready, but it hyped. For some reason, her teammates liked what I did. It hyped the whole team up, and Zena's game changed the rest of the season. And so I did my job as a parent, but I can't do that too many times because I can see myself getting arrested in such settings.
There's a spot for it. Like, there's a couple times where I had to tell Sydney, like I don't give a, you need to, and she, pound home didn't, Now, I would say my daughter, she cares about dancing, and that's the one thing I always tell her, look, the moment you don't want to do this, we done. But at least I know she cares about it and she wants to do it and she wants to excel at it, and that was what would bother me more if we're doing something and you ain't even really that interested in it. Then it's, we got to make a decision.
It's just crazy as a parent. You really, like, when they're younger, there's this, you do everything for them. There's a control element to it. And then as they start to transition to this teenage life, you're basically a consultant.
Yeah.
It's still your way or the highway to an extent, because girls especially, they have their own minds. But the best way I've found to communicate with Zena is to treat her with the respect of her intellect and walk her through from an advisory standpoint.
When did you figure that out? At what age was it?
I would say, so Zena's 15 now. Zena had a unique situation when we moved to Dallas. It was just Zena and I for 6 months. So this is 4th grade, 10 years old. And so she grew up kind of fast, because she had to realize that, hey, we have this strict schedule, literally just me and you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pick you up. Sometimes I would take her to events that I had to do. And she really grew into an independent individual. And then you couple that with the siblings of kids on the spectrum, they grow up fast too, because they have to.
Yeah.
So I would say probably about 7th grade. The challenge is we give her so much freedom that she can kind of go in the reverse at times. But I found the best way to communicate with her.
What you mean in the reverse?
She thinks she's an adult.
Okay. Oh, she goes over the.
She goes overboard. She doesn't really like people telling her what to do. She has her own credit card. It was my credit card, but in her name. I want to teach her responsible usage of that, and we've had to have conversations about what responsible usage looks like.
Yeah.
With stuff associated with her team and club, and we travel a lot for volleyball, she'll try to organize events and butt heads with parents, because we give her this independence. We trust her with it. Most parents are not used to giving their child that much independence, and
that's why I asked, because it's like I could see, especially from being a parent with kids doing activities and coaching the kids of parents that are in activities, that when you see that child actually be given that reign, and is that parent counseling them or are they controlling them? Like I seen both, and it's that's why I asked at what age, and I don't know when it happened that way for Sydney, but it's I find myself more now, and I think me and her mom, she kind of say, you talk to her. I think just for whatever reason, I think out of all my kids, I know me and Sydney are most alike, so I understand how she's thinking and understand how she's feeling. My son, he's like Courtney. Like, he's very analytical. This don't make sense. 1 + 2 = 3. Like, he's very, there's no deviating from this. So she, I think, does a better job of talking to him, because she can see where his mind is. But like, I've seen that where parents, they're still babying the kid through sports, and it's like, well, he's tired, or are we gonna have practice again? And and it's just like, well, I brought his pants up here today. Like, no, like he left his stuff, he gonna have to run.
Yeah.
He needs to learn. There's consequence. Well, Courtney had a good thing. She learned the consequences of his actions.
Yeah.
So.
Man, it's been a pleasure. We didn't even get to the other stuff that I wanted to talk about. I need to know Raising Canaan or Book of Ghosts too, but we'll have to do that another time, man. It's been great having you.
I think it's good. I love what you're doing now. I think it's good like this, because they get to see that other side of you, to get a little more insight of you. We're better than have your boy here help you bring it out.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, man. So, Ricky Perez.
Yeah, man.
Great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Family man, business owner, real estate. You've been in education almost your whole career outside of Wake Forest, man, and a great friend.
Appreciate it.
Above and beyond. All right, that's Obi Chukwumah, Space and Equity. We're all about increasing assets and creating new space. Come correct, and they can't stop you.